Been using this place a lot lately, sir.
So? It's still the best place in town to find non-citizens. All hobbling to Father Conrad's shelter.
Could you spare a few Anglos, sir?
This one?
No, we need one that's roughly the same age and size as Hutchinson. Oh dear.
Could you possibly spare a few Anglos, sir? We haven't eaten since Tuesday.
Oh, I am so sorry. Well, in future, you'd better pick dustbins that haven't been locked, hadn't you?
Good of you to see me at short notice, David.
No bother, Father Conrad. You said it was urgent. And you're one of 5 people who know my address and telephone number.
Would you trust a sixth?
On your say-so, yes.
He's waiting downstairs.
Non-citizen, Father.
Yes. And David, you must no longer call me father. I resigned holy orders 7 years ago.
Pity it wasn't a bit sooner. I might have saved myself a few beltings for making up the catechism as I went along.
And now you've adopted your own.
Different creeds for different times, Father.
Perhaps you should have belted me.
Once or twice I nearly did. Come here.
Dave, in the last month, 2 men have killed in public view 5 non-citizens on their way to my shelter.
Sit down. I'll get you and Father Conrad something to drink while I make a telephone call.
Mrs. Hutchinson?
Yes?
Parcel for you. It's only a dead non-citizen. Next time it might be your husband, because he stopped being a collector for the cause.
The cause we all should work for.
Right. Tell him we called, will you?
Father Conrad, hello. Who are you?
No one. A non-citizen.
Sit down.
I used to be a university professor.
who tried to teach history the way it happened instead of the way it's being rewritten. My name is Gerald Godolphin Arnold. Now it's Rabbit, because I talk rather and run easily, as I did 3 hours ago when I watched a man killed who'd kept me alive for over a year.
Oh, why would he do that?
Part kindness, part expediency. Ex-farm labourer. He was too inarticulate to beg. I was too useless to defend myself. In the end, I failed him.
Yes. Now, David, we have a hell of a lot on. Now, is this any of our business?
Maybe not yours, but I've been asked, so it's mine.
Okay. It's ours.
Number, status, and computed background of subject on monitor 3, please.
There's no need. His name is Joe Hutchison. He's one of the senior conveners at State Factory Group 7.
Which employs more than 10,000 men.
A trusted officer of a union of which I have been assistant gensec for quite a while now. And we look after our members. And I was approached by Joe Hutchison as a personal friend.
With?
With the information that a group of men have set up an extortion racket which is collecting more than 3,000 Anglo dollars weekly from one state, repeat, state factory alone, using the nastiest possible methods of extortion.
Well, if this is so, Home Secretary...
And it is?
Then it's a clear case of deplorable gangsterism, but criminal, not political. Surely the responsibility of the civil police.
A junior convener tried that. This network asked him to collect for them. He refused. He went to the police. His house was burnt down with his parents inside. After that, any of my members approached did as they were told.
So, Scardon, don't use the dialectic between criminal and political just to get your dissenters' budget increased. The Hutchinson problem is now being dumped right in your devious lap.
On what grounds, Home Secretary?
First, because I say so. Second, feasible theory. The money raised might be used for sedition. I want urgent action at the highest level.
All for the cause, citizen. Contribute and believe. Beats working for a living, anyway. That's the lot. Let's get home, Johnny.
Home Secretary seems, as they say, to have her underwear in somewhat of an uproar.
And you seem quite happy about it. Ernest Harrison's union carries a lot of weight, and if he gets the entire Federation to intervene, she's in trouble.
Which might persuade Kate that the budget increases I want are necessary, and that the efficiency of this department is all that stands between her and political extinction.
On a practical level, there has to be a police report about that one complaint, the man whose house was burnt down.
There isn't. I checked. But then, of course, the civil police aren't paid very well, ma'am, and suppressing a complaint for cash is better than overtime.
Well, I'd better get on with it.
A monstrous regiment of women.
Yes. The Home Secretary was strangely insistent that Miss Blake should be placed in complete charge of this affair, with you and any other necessary facilities seconded to her full-time.
Something I'm not best pleased about, Controller, not with my caseload. And then there's this new Pentagon group at Strategic Supplies. Dreadful business. Dreadful.
Then, my dear McCrae, you must conserve your energies. If I were to think aloud, which I never do...
We are completely unmonitored, sir.
I might be tempted to say that the Home Secretary wants Miss Blake to have my job, whereas I would much prefer that you had hers. Which is very likely if she can't sort out this state factory extortion business, and it's a difficult one, especially without help.
Deputy Controller. That's a proper title, that. A ring to it.
8, 9, 10 for me. 3 for you. 3 for the rest of the team. 1 to spread around the local silver helmets. And 1 for our friendly neighborhood PCD officer.
Better make it 2 for him this time.
They've had an intensive audit from an HQ PCD unit. Went through the files with 2 micro scanners.
Oh, lucky old us. There are no files on our particular cause.
But he's pushing it.
Ah, that's his tough luck. Now, if he's determined to live beyond his means, he'd better start earning the money.
I'd still make it 2.
But you don't run the show, Johnny. No, I'd rather keep him anxious. Tell the man, easy loot is hard to come by.
Gerald.
Hello, Dave. Will you look after this man? Surely. Come along.
Mr. Conrad? Hello. David. You know, I was a non-citizen. Just on a week. And I still get nightmares about it.
Really? Who got you out?
You were a star pupil.
Any result?
None at all. I've plugged into every grapevine I know. Crime reporters, underground press, foreign press. God forgive me, I've even tried to put a dirty squeeze on some poor devil at the State Dissection Centre who's selling results abroad.
What on earth's that?
It's the bacterial warfare boys. Well, I thought maybe they were conducting new tests. But they're not. Apparently they wouldn't use non-citizens for that anyway. Too much natural deterioration. The results to be valid.
Scientists. I'd like to get my hands on some of them.
Not the answer, David, and you know it. Pray for them.
Is anyone still listening?
Oh, yes.
This is the second night Canary Joe hasn't been back.
All non-citizens wander.
Not Joe. He'd never leave the bird. All he has. He'd beg enough for birdseed and come back. He's dead.
I'm not asking you to write propaganda.
What's another word for propaganda?
I'm not asking you to write anything. We did say that there would be times when we could help each other.
You've been a great help lately, haven't you? Now, I've told you this before. My help for you will start when you come up before the Human Rights Tribunal. I may be able to persuade the jury that you were out of your civil service depth, that you fought within the PCD for more civilized interrogation techniques, and the opening up of your adult rehabilitation centers to the press and to the public, that you also fought to destroy sadism within the PCD. I may tell them all that. So when are you going to start?
Give me time, Jim.
You haven't got time, Lynn. Don't wait for your retirement.
I've already started.
Really? Give me one instance.
I can't. It's an official secret and you're still a newsman.
Yeah. I suppose that's why I'm here, is it?
You're here because I wanted to see you. And to ask you a favor. One that you shouldn't balk at.
You know, your lot have tried to flatter me, cajole me, bully me, buy me. Why don't you stop it?
So the answer's no. Closed mind.
On the contrary, it is wide open.
No one is asking you to sell out, James.
Nobody except you. I must say the rest have given up trying.
Not me, either. You know, for a journalist, you're showing a remarkable lack of curiosity.
Yes.
I can't believe that you would back an extortion racket. Four days now and still nothing, including full-scale checks on local PCD and local police.
And the factory?
A blank and terrified wall of silence.
Who did your field work?
McCrae at first, but I double-checked.
Oh. I thought he was meant to be one of your most thorough officers.
Perhaps he's tired.
Or persuaded? Miss Blake, among 10,000 men, there must be one who'll talk.
Yes, but only to someone special. Which is why we're here, and I might need fast official sanction from you. James?
Secretary. Rose between two thorns.
Don't flatter yourself, James. We have another guest due, and I'd rather have the table between you. He's likely to want to punch you in the face.
Really? You'd better join the queue. Who is it?
Trade Union Assistant Gen Sec, Ernest Harrison.
Oh, good old Ernest. Well, I don't know what he's got against me. I did once right that he always had his hair cut in the shape of a cloth cap, but apart from that, he's as honest as any of the time servers and place grabbers are allowed to be.
Home Secretary, with respect.
Point of order, Brother Chair.
I refuse to discuss any form of union or official business in front of this muckraker.
Oh, come off it, Ernest. I promise you, I will not eat my peas with a knife unless you do.
You, Kyle, will stop being flippant, and you, Mr. Harrison, will be good enough to sit down.
Any results?
No, nothing. I'm sorry.
As you should be. Another body was dumped on Hutchison's doorstep 3 days ago.
Body? Would that body have been by any chance that of a non-citizen?
Yes.
Oh. I think you'll probably find he was out looking for birdseed. His name is Canary Joe.
What do you know about that?
I'm a newsman. People talk to me.
Which is why we would like you to conduct a series of investigations at State Factory Group 7. Ostensibly on productivity, but in reality to find witnesses who will identify these men who are running this murderous extortion racket. And why you, Mr. Harrison, will order full union cooperation.
Not likely.
Then it's your responsibility. If your men won't cooperate with either the PCD or their nominees, or the civil police, then I can't help you. It's right outside my jurisdiction.
Not so. Not in law. Subsection
Home Secretary, may I get one thing absolutely straight? You are asking me to help the PCD?
Yes.
No, I won't bother with anything to eat, thank you very much. Just bring me a large glass and a full bottle of brandy.
No, McCrae, you were quite right to tell me. Though I would have hoped that Miss Blake might have thought fit to inform me about implicating Kyle in this particular investigation.
I'm sure she will, Controller, but I thought you should know as early as possible. Teamwork. That's the motto.
And then attention to the non-obvious detail. Chief Inspector McCrae, you will now devote your full and undivided attention to this project.
You may have to point out the non-obvious detail, Mr. Scarbden.
If Kyle can uncover these extortioners where an expert PCD force failed, he's obviously implicated with them. Under interrogation carried out by you, they will admit that. Kyle can share a prison sentence just as easily as he can share exclusive luncheons at the Leaders' Club. I should concentrate on that.
I'm not over fond of Mr. Kyle myself. An insolent man.
Who are you? How'd you find out about me?
Through your Assistant General Secretary, Ernest Harrison.
Oh, that's why he gave me the day off. But he could have said. And why the blindfold?
Because I happen to live here. And I don't know you or Ernest Harrison, let alone trust you.
We've heard a lot about bodies on doorsteps. And we'd like to know a lot more.
Not from me. Who are you?
We're not the people who left the bodies.
PCD?
Not them either.
Not quite.
Nobody will tell you anything. Nobody.
I know someone who will.
Dave, I'll see you in a couple of hours when you get back from the shelter, all right? Ask Mr. Hutchinson if he'd like a cup of tea.
Indian or China?
Well, I don't know. I mean, ask Mr. Hutchinson which he prefers. Perhaps he'd prefer coffee.
I think I'd better get in touch with Digger Radford first.
Why?
Muscle. I'm worried about your profile. I'm even more worried about your cluttering up doorsteps.
Right. I'll be seeing you.
What are you two up to?
Most people who visit this office make appointments at somewhat longer notice, Kyle.
And they're punctual.
Remember it.
Most people who visit this office are usually thrown in by the scruff of their consciences. Inspector McRae, did you get the list I asked for?
Improper is too mild a word, even in mixed company for accepting instructions from you, Mr. Kyle. Repugnant is better. It is the term I use in my official complaint.
Inspector McRae, you are one of those point-headed gentlemen with their knuckles grazing the ground that give the Scots a bad name. Now, do you have the list?
If you please, McRae, I'll take it. And I'll need a very good reason for handing it over.
I have been living at every leisure centre used by thousands of workers from State Factory number 7. I have been chatting with them, I have been mingling.
And?
Nothing. They are talking to no one about anything, except possibly the weather, and they're being very vague about that.
I thought you were a good journalist, Kyle, expert at nosing out information.
I am, Herbert, as you should well know. However, the factory has been gone over very carefully, twice in a very heavy-handed fashion, by a PCD intensive questioning unit. The net result is that they're not even talking to their families.
He has a point.
Thank you. That is why I need this list. I need the list of stewards and conveners and union officials. God knows there seems to be a lot of them.
Why?
Because it occurred to me that if I want to talk to them, I'll have to join them. That is why you and I are going over to Assistant General Secretary Harrison's office and getting me scheduled as a convener. We'll buy a flat cap on the way.
Somebody's using these people as visiting cards. They pick up nonsense up the street on their way here. Kill them. And leave them with jokers like this to remind them that life is cheap.
Come.
See that fellow over there feeding the canary? Well, its owner is dead. And he's prepared to identify the people who did it. Which is more than you are.
They knocked off Canary Joe.
Come on. Yeah.
Well, I'm in. He lent me a blanket once.
Well, somebody's in for Knox.
Right.
David. Head, not hands. And you know that a non-citizen's evidence is completely inadmissible in a court of law. So called.
Why?
They don't exist. See for yourself.
Ernest Harrison has tabled a motion of censure against me with the entire trade union federation. Lack of ministerial and personal cooperation.
Before or after I went to see him with James?
Before. The knives have been out for some time. Him, the miners, all the state industries started when they wanted to add 30-odd items to the list of authorized restrictive practices, and I only allowed 18. They've been looking for an issue for some time, and now they've got one that's cast iron with this extortion business. And I'm over a political barrel.
Not the most dignified of positions. McRae was sitting at my desk the other day, trying it on for size, smirking.
There's still Kyle.
I'm glad you were able to find time to come in and see me at last.
Well, I like to keep busy, even if it is only writing for the Spike.
Which paper's Spike? Neither the news or features editors have heard very much from you lately.
Well, I've been collecting a few stories together for when we have the nerve to print them.
You mean when I have the nerve? I heard that you were putting about Fleet Street the other day that I'd lost my bark and never had a bite, and that I was recruited from the Battersea Dogs Home by the Home Secretary and rolled on my back every time she patted me. I don't even know if you read your own paper these days. If you had, you would see that we'd attacked the Minister of Energy, shown our teeth.
Borrowed teeth. Still, you were in very good company. The Prime Minister put you up to it. Half the cabinet and the civil service mandarins were playing the same tune. You were only one of the chorus line.
If you feel such contempt for this paper, Kyle, why have you stayed on? You're the third highest paid member of the staff. Your expenses are worse than my wife's credit card. What's this entertaining of contacts? What contacts? You've lost your trained mole in the PCD and you haven't found a replacement.
You don't think I'd itemize it, even if I had?
Look, I'm not a mean man, Jim. But this paper clearly cannot afford to carry passengers who are also vandals. If you see what I mean. You've not been happy here for some time.
No. Not since you bounced in here as the golden boy genius with fire in his belly. Since you've been here, you've seen off 2 news editors. 1 you've seen off to his grave. But you're doing very well, Robert, very well. The ruling party love you. The bureaucrats adore you. I'm told that Herbert Scarden invited you to his birthday party. And you went.
When did you last have a story in this paper?
I don't know. I'd have to look a calendar to see that.
And where have you been for the last couple of days? I haven't been able to make contact.
Told you, I've been busy.
Churning out seditious pieces for the underground rag and the foreign press. I should think that your friends in the foreign press aren't ungenerous.
This is beginning to sound like a valediction.
I quite like you personally, Jim. But I've been under pressure for some time to discipline you. I now feel you are of no further value to us, and without this paper you will find a great many double doors closed against you.
You mean I'm fired?
Normally, with your seniority, you could expect 12 months' notice and a severance handshake. However, Clause 12 of your contract states that in the case of disloyalty, these rights are invalid, i.e., writing for other papers.
You can't prove that.
Challenge me. I would authorize payment if I thought your wife or boys would suffer hardship, but
you'd prefer not to. Oh, God. You know, we once had editors, real editors. Delane, W.T. Stead, C.P. Scott. Now we're down to you.
Welcome to the heavy mob. At least now you'll have more time to give to the real fight. Sorry, Jim.
What's the matter? I've had nothing worth a light in the paper for 6 months. Not the sort of newspaper I'm going to write for anymore, anyway.
I never thought hacks cared.
No. We're just word prostitutes.
Right, well, I'm doing this job. Digger's going to cover me.
Yeah, half a step behind.
Why?
Because I know a heavy sprocket from an axle.
I can learn.
Yes, but not the hard way, being hit with one. Look, I got you into this at the deep end with both big feet.
I've done that to you a few times.
Not quite the same as this. Now, here are some artists' impressions of 2 men rabbit saw kill at least 1 non-citizen. And your man here has been doing some talking.
Yeah, with Digger's thumb behind his ear.
No need, listen. One fella had his house burned down, and his parents killed. Another with his sister run over. And Fred Mackenzie with a 3-ton block falling on him. 4 or 5 others. They clock out at night and you never see them again. And I've got a wife and kids.
Muscle is what you need.
Come on, Dave.
Now, look, how have we split jobs before? You do the brooding and the chat, I knock the heads together, and this is head-bashing time.
I need to do some more talking down at the factory first, and I am going to do it.
Now, I know you're not PCD, I can talk. Because this is where these geezers have really got you.
Cream on the milk, of course, is we can still carry on collecting down here. State Factory Group 7 pays out on Thursdays. State Colliery Processing pays out up north on Fridays in cash. We can be thankful South Africa stopped selling us computer salary part. That's 300 miles, 2 days, lots of wages.
Why not put Freddie in with the long-word revolutionary chat first?
No, I don't think so. No, we need a different argument, different revolution, different set of beliefs. Different name, even. Something like Equality Day. How about that? No, Freddie's line of intellectual chat would never go down up there. You need a native with blue pit marks on his face who can sup his ale and carry on about pregnant women dragging coal 500 feet underground. Yeah, I know someone as it happens.
Anything on him?
Always. An orderly with silicosis who works at the local adult rehabilitation centre. He'll do it for love, which cuts down on overhead. But we'll need to tighten up State Factory Group 7 first. It's due for an overhaul. Been chugging along for some time now, but if we're going to branch out into a new cause, it's as well to keep the old ones up to scratch.
That's what always knocks me out. It's only words.
And people believing in them. Yeah, communism, fascism, anarchism, conservatism, populism, egalitarianism. You press the right belief button and the old cash register rings. And what's wrong with that? People like you and me collect, and the idealists die early.
Well, go on, Mr. Hutchinson. How does it work?
Well, dead simple, really. Starts with the way people hate this stinking system. An hour's set work quota you can do in 20 minutes. Mandatory 3-day week every time you turn round. Fellows who want to work, outnumbered by the bureaucrats and the snoopers. Get sent to prison if you get a second job. All this form filling and numbers. And getting sent to work where you hate the local football team. Sick of it. Mostly fellas my age.
Yes, well, what's all this got to do with it?
Dave. Go on, Mr. Hutchinson.
So, you happen to meet a fellow in the leisure centre. He's got the privilege booze tickets and he's not short of the round money, and you get griping and he's sympathetic, and then he tells you about this network.
What network?
This group that wants another sort of parliament, more international relations, less civil servants, more human rights. And you sign on for membership. That's how it starts.
And then?
Then you start collecting for the cause, because you want to. I mean, you really want to. You believe in it. You really believe.
Go on.
Then you find there isn't any cause, none at all. It's just a simple racket for crooks to get money.
So, stop collecting?
And be hammered. Oh, thanks. What's worse, and this is where they've really got you, a big threat. They can turn you in for sedition.
Crime and politics, indissoluble. You rob a bank, kidnap somebody, and because you're doing it for a cause, it's not a crime anymore. Most of the money, anyway, goes to the boss man's penthouse. A few Anglos left over to buy bullets for some fanatical boys. Nothing changes in this gullible old world, does it?
Does this cause have a name?
Freedom Day.
Better get down to the produce centre, see what waste we can scrounge.
Hardly scrounge, Father. Not in your case. Too many people remember you.
From the days when I was television's turbulent priest. A long time ago.
Don't you miss it?
Some of it. Not the television part. Some of the real part. I certainly don't miss the political messages which had to be contained in every cell. I'd rather have a stir of soup.
And decaying men. Rule bloody Britannia.
Now, I've told you how to get recruited. You may as well know. I've gone back to collecting. I took all the risk I was going to take when I told the assistant Gen Sec. That was only because he promised to keep me out of it. Will you keep me out of it?
I'll try. You just point me out to the organisers of the new convener, the one who's very keen.
Right. Can I go now?
Yeah.
I'll put the blind on him and drive him round to confuse him a bit more.
Go ahead, Digger.
Come on then, Rulebook. I might even buy you a drink on the way.
You're the cheese in the rat trap, you realise that?
Oh, yes, yes. But we now have a second, very selfish reason for wanting to make this work. We now have the chance to get our hands on a list of dissidents, thousands of new friends working in a state factory, and some of them in top jobs.
Which Herbert Garden would give his eye teeth for.
Which he'd give his eye teeth for.
I like the thought.
But, Home Secretary, you asked me only a few weeks ago to cut him down to size.
I did not tell you to fire him,
You expressed
did I?
grave displeasure of the damage he was doing in the foreign press.
I did not tell you to fire him. Did anyone else?
Only my proprietor can tell me to fire a journalist.
Did he?
I'd rather not go into that.
I think you'd better.
May I call my proprietor?
He's fast asleep in the Leaders' Club. I'd rather you didn't disturb him at the moment. He needs all the rest we can let him have. Who said Kyle had to be fired?
Kyle asked for it. He had to go.
Then you'd better bring him back.
I find your interest surprising, Home Secretary.
He is at the moment engaged on a rather important task for me, and I don't want him upset.
The whole staff knows I fired him. I cannot reinstate him.
Then look out, Mr. Jessup. It's part of my task to ensure that the PCD curb undesirable publications.
Undesirable? But we're with you.
And you'll get no state advertising if my PCD disapproves. Good day.
This is the 3-minute warning for the commencement of the Advanced Political Discussion Group C meeting in the Blue Area Conference Room.
You think this new convener will turn up?
Positive. I spoke to him on the phone. He's been around. Loudmouth, but cagey with it. And he's been leaned on before.
I'll join in then.
Only when you need to. If he runs a union division of 1,200 odd, he's not exactly small fry.
Not yet.
Bit brisk for the time of year.
Seasonable, I'd have said.
Oh, thank you.
Do you know what this is?
Anti-bugging device. In case yours doesn't work.
It's careful, too.
I like that, you know. Suspicion, I mean. I could be anybody, couldn't I? Could be undercover PCD, you know. I could be another network trying to muscle in. See, I like that. Could be anybody.
Right now, Charlie, all you are is on test.
Oh. Well, perhaps I should take my drink elsewhere. Look, I thought Freedom Day meant business.
It does.
Well, then you tell him to put that cannon back in his sock. Stop behaving like one of Herbert Scarden's cowboys.
Would members please note that drinks and refreshment vouchers must be renewed by the end of the month.
How come you know Scarden's name?
You keep the faith, but you can keep your ears flapping as well. I'll tell you this. When Scarden's head finally gets chopped off, I'm going to have it shrunk. Put on my mantelpiece as a souvenir.
You're a bit sure of yourself, aren't you?
Oh, yes, I am. Sure enough not to have to carry an abattoir pistol around with me. Belief is enough. Belief in another network. Listen, you the boss?
Yes.
Right. Get rid of Neanderthal man here, then we can talk sense. Now listen, you prove to me that Freedom Day is what it says it is, and I can deliver 15,000 people.
Can you prove that?
If I'm satisfied. Tomorrow, all right?
Fair.
Right. Here, same time tomorrow. Keep doing the press-ups, won't you?
You'll find out.
James, what do you think you're doing?
You know, I always said a day's work would kill them. It's practically killed me just watching them.
James, you're not funny. You were allocated a visual surveillance squad of 3. Different men every day this week, all specialists, all for your own protection. You chose to put them on the heaviest manual labor you could find.
I'm a convener, missus. I know my rights.
4 have requested... 4 are on sick leave with strained backs, and 4 have requested a change of assignment.
Only 4?
Oh, James, stop clowning.
I'm not clowning, darling. How long do you think I'd last with an obvious retinue of PCD earwigs crawling all after me for my protection? Is McRae there?
Yes.
I want one of your team standing by between 10 and midnight tomorrow. Oh, by the way, don't wear that comprehensive one tie you're not entitled to. You know the one with the X stains all down it?
I've said it to Controller Scarden, and I'll say it again to you. That is an insolent man. And one day I'll spend a lot of time seeing he regrets it.
Perhaps it'll be your first full-time assignment as Deputy Controller. Proper title, that. A ring to it.
Sorry about the headgear.
It's all right, I've worn one before. Do you think you could ask Tarzan to save his energy for the crocodiles? Thank you. Well, if you're going to fight for freedom, do it in comfort. That's what I always say.
Yeah, well, there's not much of it about. Where do you live?
Oh, Union Conveners Hostel.
Well, at least you get hot water. Status 2 grub.
Yeah, and all the mechanical jabbering while you eat it.
Drink?
Oh, well, anything you've got. Let's have half the black market in there.
Just contributions. Help yourself.
Thank you.
Hell, that firewater out.
Oh, well. Whatever turns you on, as they say.
Now then, this membership of 15,000 of yours you were going to show us.
After you've told me what your lot are doing, and I mean doing, not saying.
Your list first.
Perhaps you'd care to start with your overseas contacts?
After we've seen your list. It'd better be with citizen computer numbers and everything like ours is.
No need to shout. My list is perfectly feasible, mate, I'll tell you that.
Hell's that?
Oh. Looks like some poor non-sit begging for a fire price.
Watch him, boss. I don't like it.
Watch it!
Not your lucky night, pal. I'm not Canary Joe.
I think you've got a dent in his head.
Yeah, in a minute I'll make a few more.
Sorry we're a bit late. More muscle on the ground than we expected.
Oh, don't give it a thought. After all, I had about 10 seconds of chat left before somebody put 500 volts through my skull.
I checked the van doors as you asked, but those men inside seem to be quite unconscious. And if they do start to shout, I don't expect anyone will take much notice.
We sort of requisitioned a PCD Black Maria. Digger forged your signature.
Oh, yes, anytime.
Reports. Lovely to see again. Even if they are rewritten repro classics which no one reads, just decoration.
Damn glasses. Dave, pockets. Digger, go through his pockets. You've got 10 minutes to tear this place apart and put it back together again. We're looking for a list.
This looks like an original, though. Strange. The old curiosity shop. And a list of political dissidents at State Factory Group 7.
Professor, you are not only a scholar and a gentleman, sir, but you are also very, very lucky I may well wear you as a mascot. Inspector McRae's office, urgent. McRae, send in your team.
Rerun Monitor 3, if you please.
All I did was take money from traitors, that's all. They thought they were supporting a resistance movement. Bring down the government, the system. Theirs was a worse crime than mine. Theirs was a crime against the state. All their names, jobs, and contributions are in the book. Yeah. And signatures and computer identity and everything.
Citizen Malloy, you keep talking about a book. An intensive search unit went over the place for most of the night. It found nothing.
And that fellow who said he was a convener must have lifted him. He must have!
I want that book, Kyle.
What book? I didn't find a book.
I want that book. Otherwise, your next address will be the Mayfield Adult Rehabilitation Center. I'll carry you if I have to, Kyle.
Charge, Herbert. All I did was help suppress an extortion racket. At your deputy's request, and with the Home Secretary's blessing, the man has confessed. Though I think I deserve at least a pass to the Leaders' Club.
I want that book.
Why? I mean, if there was a book, and it was waved about in court, you would look rather foolish, wouldn't you? I mean, here are you, running the Public Control Department, and here are all those diabolical political dissidents, all running around loose, plotting sedition against the state. Dear, oh dear, oh dear, we'd never sleep in our beds at night.
Which will be the gist of the third Cabinet reprimand to be issued to you, Controller Scarden.
All during your term of office.
Yes, and they all count.
And I've been instructed by my executive to request a full report of further developments in this matter for appending to our motion of censure on the Home Secretary for non-protection of our members.
I would drop that, really, if I were you, Ernest. You could end up looking more of a Herbert than Herbert. I mean, I can see the headlines now. State Union riddled with subversion. Executive powerless. Text. 377 members of a state union plotting sedition within a state factory itself.
Are those figures accurate,
No,
Kyle?
Home Secretary, they are not. Let's call it an educated guess.
Quite a scandal, Ernest.
And then, of course, there is the underground press and word of mouth. No, I think you would lose your job. I'd have to lend you my overalls. I should forget all about censure motions, Ernest. You see, you're going to need every friend you can get. Come to that, so is Herbert.
You sound as if you've worked all this out, James.
Always. Would you care to punch up your waiting room, please? That man is a non-citizen. If his full citizenship was reinstated, he would give eyewitness testimony at a murder trial. A nice, quiet murder trial. Nothing else need come out. The extortionists would be convicted, and there would be the usual public hanging.
And that reinstatement is the Home Secretary's absolute prerogative, Mr. Harrison, mine.
Told you you'd need every friend you could get.
Home Secretary, on consideration, we may have been a trifle hasty in moving our motion of censure. We were not in possession of all the facts.
You still insist that there is a book, Herbert?
No, Kyle. At least not for the record.
So, sweetness and light prevail. I only missed out on one thing. Demoting Inspector McRae to constable.
And this is the last time you will be asked to help.
Help, Herbert, is something that is freely given or not at all.
You'll get no help from me, Kyle. But I have a feeling you won't be getting your job back after all.
Well, on reflection, Home Secretary, I suppose help is a word that has passed out of our language as a request. Or even as a scream when you're drowning